Roblox is one of the biggest corporations ever, with over 1 million users playing its wide variety of games daily. However, Roblox has a fair share of predators, and this is the unfortunate truth for most, if not all, communities. Where there is light, there will often be darkness. I was introduced to Roblox in 2013 when I was 9 years old, where I would watch my friends at school play a Spider-Man game, which you could swing from building to building. It looked insanely fun as a kid growing up, and I wanted to give it a try. So I did. And I became incredibly addicted to Roblox. I played games like The Mad Murderer, Catalog of Heaven, Escape Jeff the Killer in Area 51, Possession, all great games for a child back then. I continued to play these games as I grew, and so did my interests, of course. My interest being the Myth community at the time in 2017 when I was 13 years old. In the Myth community, anyone could create a horror story or game and give it true meaning, breathe life into their work, and truly frighten others. It didn't necessarily have to be focused on jump scares or scares. It just had to be inspired, original, thoughtful, and just have profound lore for others to investigate and to explore. I started my journey officially in 2018 due to inspiration from the content creator Flamingo on YouTube, where he would frequently review myths and attract a large crowd due to his popularity. The story of other myths like Vorn and others had truly inspired me to want to create worlds of my own, and that's precisely what I had done, although it wasn't easy learning how to script in Lua, or learning how to build in Roblox Studio. Trust me, it's a nightmare. I created my first myth consumes, which took off far more than I ever could have anticipated. My myth had over 100,000 place visits, and I had become somewhat renowned in the community, even being granted a creation of my own wiki page on the Myth Community Wiki. It was a weird journey for someone so young, as I had interacted with people who were majorly older than me, and one of those individuals being someone I had as an online partner at the time, who shared a role in the story of my myth. They were incredibly weird, even disgusting. They would take me to Omegle for the first time, where I would unfortunately see a man doing inappropriate deeds with a dog at a young age, thus permanently scarring me forever. Yes, this did happen, and I am forever traumatized. I believe that person was at the time a child, but that does not excuse their horrible actions. I genuinely did not appreciate it or this person. After months of working, I was granted the role of Renowned Myth and Claimed Myth in the Roblox Myth Hunters groups. This achievement was insane, as I had completed my goal of being recognized as a myth creator. After much project success, I had created another myth account, Day584523. This account also became very popular and was granted a myth role all of its own. I frequently moderated instances of 74J's Grocery Gang World to ensure players were not harassing other users. This is when I was also invited to help other myth creators such as Napoleon, Akamana, the Deity, and even 74J themselves. To those who know, these are massive myth creators, and they were all featured in Flamingo's videos at some point, and it was an honor to work alongside them. But things began to take a turn for the worse when I felt myself struggling to be recognized, even then, for my insane amount of work and dedication to my projects, as there was another myth group called Roblox Myths at the time, and it was more focused on an SCP-like approach of the concept of myths, whereas Roblox Myth Hunters was more of a searching and investigating concept, not focused on containment. Roblox Myths was a group on Roblox owned by a user named Kazdam. This group had over 400,000 members, including some of Roblox's official admins and many content creators such as Flamingo. But Kazdam did not seem to like me simply because of my ambition, and neither did Fox Spawns, an RM counselor member at the time. Fox Spawns was also responsible for promotions inside of Roblox Myths at the time. I showed them my work repeatedly, and it was even better than some of the other myths that they had promoted at the time, in my opinion. But Fox Spawns and Kazdam refused to accept me as a myth in their group. Meanwhile, Roblox Myth Hunters embraced my hard work when I applied, and within 2 weeks I was accepted. So I had officially retired from the community in disappointment. That was until I heard that Kazdam, the owner of Roblox Myths, was now facing predator allegations. The news was so sudden and unexpected that the other Roblox Myth higher-ups did not take Kazdam's horrifying actions too kindly or lightly. Rightfully so, nobody should. Thus, Kazdam and Fox Spawns were forced to step away from the Roblox Myth scene entirely, and I was finally able to get the role in Roblox Myths group, after it had rebranded to a new name entirely. However, Roblox Myths shut down completely. The new myth group also fell apart due to the innate corruption of everything in the community, but primarily this was all because of Kazdam's horrible actions. So I wanted to give you a closer look from someone who was actively in the myth community at that time, and even take it a step further and examine both some of my previous co-workers' actions and the horrible actions of Kazdam, the former leader of Roblox Myths. Interestingly enough, Kazdam's response document appears to have been deleted at the time of this video's creation, so we won't be able to use this. A 22-page document that addresses Kazdam's response and raises awareness about Kazdam being a predator was created by the co-owner of Roblox Myths, aka Taffies, which is what I knew them for most of the time in the community. While I never directly spoke to or interacted with Taffies, I learned of them and their renown in the myth community pretty quickly. This was the first part of Kazdam's response. People have been trying to gang up on and cancel people left and right lately, a type of mob mentality to weigh in on subjects they know very little about. And as everyone knows, there's a lot of drama going around about something that happened 3 years ago. I don't like to feed into drama usually, and I don't want sympathy, but seeing as this is a direct attack on me in the myth community, I feel the need to respond. So right off the bat, Kazdam claims that this is all just simply drama that occurred 3 years ago. And he basically talks about not wanting sympathy, but usually that is something somebody who wants sympathy would say. It's to manipulate their audience. It's just simply reverse psychology. We can see that Kazdam feels personally attacked by the actions of Taffies and their friends. So honestly, I gotta ask, did you not take in consideration the fact that you were attacking them by grooming children and taking advantage of them when they were younger? It seems pretty victim-blamey if you ask me, Kazdam.
Essentially, the screenshots you saw on the Twitter thread were taken out of context.
My brother, this is excuse numero uno regarding predators online. They literally all say the exact same thing and pull the same stunt. Just get new predator material. Unironically, Kazdam feels like a myth themselves, making up their lore as they go. Also, it is a colossal red flag that he owned the myth Ulifer, a myth that coincidentally liked preying upon children. Kazdam, when you were writing this character, were you like self-projecting? Seriously, what's going on here? I'm genuinely curious. Another thing I'd like to mention is another myth owned by Kazdam called Taroa. This myth was widely known because of his other myth, Chuck Lloyd. Similar to Ulifer, Taroa was focused on luring children to his show and converting them into his scarecrows. Luring children. As if that's not really weird, considering what Kazdam has done. Several myths that Kazdam owns seems to be orientated around children, and some of them even about children's nursery stories. Whether or not this is coincidental or a deeper look into Kazdam's monstrous psyche when it comes to children, I can't really tell, but let me know what you guys think about these coincidences. Taffies' response to Kazdam's paragraph. Essentially, I agree with this whole thing. It doesn't matter how long ago the actions occurred. At Kazdam, you were a legal and responsible adult. You should be held accountable for your actions, as you seem to have been for the most part. From what we can gather, Kazdam never stopped being a horrible human being while taking advantage of these kids, and never had any intention to stop until Taffies and their friend group had properly called them out. To Taffies and those individuals, I commend you. I salute you for your bravery, for standing up for these children, and for everyone else who needed you in the myth community. Thank you for doing that. Seriously, thank you. We learned through this document created by Taffies that nothing is out of context. Taffies states that they could add even more from this group chat if they wanted to, even going so far as to state that they could expose Kazdam for pressuring Taffies themselves into sending inappropriate pictures, and states that they both consented. While I don't know the exact ages here in this moment in time, I believe Kazdam is an adult at this time and thus legally could be held responsible. Legally, Taffies could not consent, nor Kazdam, as an adult, should be pressuring Taffies as a child into doing explicit favors for him. It is disgusting and unacceptable. In this conversation, Kazdam tries to manipulate Taffies here to convince themselves that it takes two to tango. Kazdam is unironically trying to manipulate Taffies into believing that they are equally at fault for reciprocating explicit photos. But that's not at all how this works, Kazdam. As you can see here, Blood Rage, aka Taffies at the time, clearly states that Kazdam pressures them into doing things that they didn't really want to do, even after they had said no, and even then Kazdam responds with, "So did every guy in existence." That is such a disgusting response to say to a victim, Kazdam. You hardly act like an adult in this situation. For someone who is an adult, just do better and grow up, literally. You're so disgusting. We learned that Kazdam was not only a repeat offender with children, but also a repeat offender when it came to cheating. Seriously, dude, how many girls do you need in your life, and how many of them are underage? Are you really that disgusting? It gets much more intense when Kazdam addresses the allegations of him doing and saying explicit things with a child that is 4 years below the legal age of consent. He claims that the accusations of him asking for a bikini pic from his child are entirely fake. He explains that this was just a simple group setting where the bikini picture was sent to everybody. He claims that this just happened and that the anonymous person and Taffies are trying to make it out much worse than it actually was. Now, it actually gets a little bit more juicy here in this bottom bit. Now, what did happen was some flirting when I was drunk almost 2 years ago. Boo! Not the classic predator drinking excuse. Boo! Kazdam claims that the 20-6-year-old victim came onto him, and finally claims that you see people lying about their age all the time online. Typical predator deflection, they just can't accept responsibility. Now the problem with that is that you're still responsible at the end of the day, as an adult, for drinking and flirting and reciprocating. These are your decisions and your decisions alone that have led you down this monstrous and dark path. Kazdam did indeed solicit this 20-6-year-old, and wanted to wait until she was 20-4 to get with her. The following screenshots posted by Anonymous give us insight into this conversation and how truly disgusting Kazdam was at this moment in time. Kazdam continued to talk with this child for months on end and reciprocated. He also had done the same thing with Taffies. It is a vicious repeating cycle that never seems to stop when it comes to Kazdam and his victims. Kazdam learns this individual's age, and instead of turning them away, he says, "Hit me up when you're 2 years older," which doesn't make sense at all because, what? Kazdam, dude, they're still 2 years below the legal age of consent, and that would not be a legal relationship. You would still be an adult. Hello, Earth the Kazdam, is your brain working? The victim state that at one point, Kazdam said he would frick this victim at a McDonald's, which is incredibly disgusting. And we can see that the victim explains that they believe Kazdam was hoping that they would be a bit older, but still, after they clearly stated their age of 4 years below the legal age of consent, Kazdam states,
I'd frick anything that moves, to be fair.
Is clear as day in the chat with this child. Disgusting actions from the leader of Roblox's myths. As you can see here, Taffy's response to Kazdam also acknowledges the fact that Kazdam has just openly admitted to flirting with a child 4 years below the legal age of consent. Kazdam did not think of the consequences to follow of his actions. And then there is a brief mention of Kazdam doing a similar thing to another girl who was 2 years below the legal age of consent. In this final screenshot, we can see that Kazdam believes that an 18-year-old dating someone 4 years younger than themselves is somehow better than a 25-year-old doing it. In Kazdam's feeble little mind, 4 years isn't all that bad. Well guys, I guess Kazdam's not a criminal after all. The case is closed. Psych! Dude, seriously? You own one of the most significant communities in Roblox history and have a giant reputation to live up to. You can't even understand that a 4-year age gap is unacceptable, and then you would even attempt to double down upon your actions, say, it's only 4 years? Along with that thinking, how about another 4 more years in prison while you're at it? I grow increasingly tired of hearing these predators' same excuses over and over again. Whether it is VRChat, Roblox, Minecraft, Discord, it's all the same. The routine never changes and the darkness never stops. But we must stop these monsters preying upon children and be that light together. What truly horrifies me about this community is that the people that seemingly make up these dark stories are actually much darker stories themselves. A Roblox Myth community blacklist reveals it all. I had interacted with many of these predators, and even at one point I had some of them friended while I was a child on Consumes. It is truly horrifying to know that I came so incredibly close to these monsters on several occasions. When I was younger, I had run into many users, but I often spoke to Zorny and AureusHawk about myth-related things and projects back in the day. Both of these users had been blacklisted for alleged cupcake-loving activities, aka being predators. Zorny themselves possesses a 69-page document that goes in depth about the horrible actions that they've done with a child themselves. So what has Zorny done exactly? Well, they've done a great many things, such as doing explicit deeds with a victim that's 4 years below the legal age of consent, making Roblox NSFW content, joining condo games, condo games, that might be a topic for another time, doing things with other users in Roblox, and Zorny themselves is at least 26 years old at this moment in time. But when they said these things, they were 21 years old. basically saying some absolutely disgusting things to children. So telling a child to go into a circle is not an expression. Zorny, you're disgusting, and I wish I'd never met you or even tried to help you with your myth projects. You're a freak, dude. Certified Diddy. Honestly, nobody should give you a chance after these horrible deeds that you've done with a child on several occasions. It hasn't happened just once. It's a vicious repeating cycle, similar to Kazdam's, and I find it monstrous that you would do these deeds and then turn around and ask me, as a child, for help on your myth projects. I was not safe myself around you back then, either. While the other person I had known, AureusHawk themselves, commissioned artwork of their character doing explicit deeds with an individual 5 years below the legal age of consent. It's not a joke to commission NSFW artwork of yourself with children. It's horrible, it's disgusting, and it's one of the most disgusting things that I've ever seen in a long time. And considering that I had known you when I was a child, I feel very, very appalled by this.
I know, lol, I asked her and she was okay with it.
My dude, what? That's a child. They quite literally cannot consent, and you're over here stating that she's, quote, okay with it because you asked her? That is not how it works. That is not how consent works. You are disgusting, and this is unacceptable behavior from someone that I once knew as a decent developer. What is wrong with you? Finally, the proof that the NSFW art was indeed created by AureusHawk, and that it is very much so real. It is disgusting, and I'm glad that it came pre-blurred for my permanently scarred retinas. Most, if not all, users blacklisted on that blacklist site have documented proof from multiple witnesses, and it is just genuinely saddening to me to see what a large chunk of my childhood has been reduced to because of horrible human beings. So when you ask me, Sileskios, what drives you to expose these predators? They hurt other people, they hurt children, they hurt our families, and I know what it's like to be hurt. I refuse to let that happen to anyone else, and I hope this video exposing Kazdam and the other myth community predators that I interacted with will reach others and demonstrate the predatory behavior is very much so real inside of the myth community. As my final favor to the community that I loved growing up, before I permanently retired from Roblox Myth Hunters, I signed up for the dev team and helped build Roblox Myth Hunters clothing store in the park map. Today, if you decide to visit this game, you can still see me sitting on this very bench if you decide to visit. Here I will be, holding a cup of coffee and pondering whether or not I truly had accomplished something great in this community. Remember, the Roblox Myth community is a wonderful group of amazing people. Still, as I stated at the beginning of the video, there will always be those bad actors attempting to destroy children's lives and make everything else miserable around them. Let's be that light, let's fight against those predators and restore the myth community to what it once was before Kazdam's exposure. Well, let's remain even more diligent about calling out these monsters at the same time. This has been Sileskios on Roblox Myth Predators. I'll be back soon with some more Roblox Predators to expose, so stay tuned in that regard. Remember to report predators to the hotline, and I'll see you all in the following video. Remember to join our Discord server if you're interested in making a report and potentially having your case in a video. Remember to stay safe all, and bye-bye.